The last couple weeks have been pretty darn busy. Not so much homesteady related stuff, just kind of life things that weren't really worth filming. And I figured it wouldn't hurt to take a couple weeks break because things are about to get really busy now that we are getting into April. In fact, today I'm checking on the seed potatoes that we put in the bucket and buried the bucket to see how that would work, because when we had tried to do them in the crawl space of our house, they sprouted way too early, and as I said before, they had those super long shoots on them and the potatoes really didn't produce much, so that didn't work. And we had stuck earlier this year, we had stuck a thermometer? Yeah, I guess it's a thermometer under the house to kind of see what the temperature was running down there. And currently right now underneath the house it's reading like 56 degrees, which is definitely warm enough to make potatoes want to sprout. And it's probably, you know, been in the 50s for quite some time. So obviously that's why it didn't work to store potatoes down there. And I stuck a compost thermometer in the garden just to test the temperature of the ground soil, and that is reading about 48 degrees. So you can see the big difference between trying to use the crawl space versus trying to use burying a bucket. And obviously the crawl space is going to run warmer anyway because you have the ducting and stuff under there that is going to put some amount of heat into there, not a whole lot, but enough to make it too warm for the potatoes down there. So anyway, I got my seed potatoes in yesterday, and today going to see how this bucket of potatoes fared. I have high hopes for this, but we'll see. And hopefully no water got into the bucket. It shouldn't have, but as you can see, this area here, it doesn't really receive that much sunlight, so it holds a lot of water here.
This is pretty much beginning. Oh! Leave that. Oh, you're gonna be so muddy soon. I'm gonna put my dirty clothes on because we're gonna get muddy regardless.
As much as I would love to think I'll be able to just pull that out of there. There you go, Fawn, dig it up. You get muddy. I'm probably gonna end up having to get a shovel, but I'll try to pull it up, see if it'll come up.
Roger, you actually dug it up a good bit here, didn't you? Look, it's gonna come right out. Don't. You're gonna fall in that hole.
Yeah. Not so great. There's about like an inch of water in the bucket, which was my biggest concern, was water getting in the bucket. Otherwise, I think they would have done just fine. Nothing looks like it actually sprouted, and it's not like the potatoes on the top are all shriveled up. It's just the potatoes on the bottom that are sitting in that like inch of water are just rotted. In fact, the potatoes on the top might be kind of okay. I don't know, but that was my biggest concern, was water getting in the bucket. So I think what we will try this year is probably burying the bucket on like a slope, or maybe even sticking it in long ways on like a hillside, so maybe the water runs off instead of just saturating, soaking up under the lid. Maybe try a different lid, a different bucket, and I think also trying to bury it somewhere where the soil dries out faster, where it receives more direct sunlight, more wind, doesn't hold as much moisture, and I think we'll have a better chance. I do think this will work because, like I said, none of these have actually sprouted, and it's only really the ones on the bottom that are bad. It's only 10 pounds, no loss. I have 25 pounds of seed potato, like I said, that I got. So we'll try a new experiment this year, and lesson learned. We'll keep moving from here, but I think this is promising, honestly. All right, I'm gonna get this to the chickens. Plus with all the drama. I'm not really sure why, but sometimes people freak out about feeding chickens a bunch of potatoes. Like they're going to eat enough to poison themselves or something. I don't know. But I will say, we have been feeding our chickens raw potato, just throwing whole potatoes out here and potato peels and tons of potato product they have eaten over the years. And even previous when we had chickens, we fed them all kinds of potatoes and I've never had any problems with it. So I don't know, to each his own though. We did get the part back for our tractor and we have Bessie up and running again. So that means it's time to get to work on the garden. We're hoping this afternoon or early this evening, if the weather holds out, that we'll be able to get out here and do some brush hogging. We have all these corn stalks out here that we need to brush hog. And then the other thing we would like to do, if we can today, is get a bunch of the hay out of the shed from the last cutting last year and spread that out on the garden. And then we're gonna kind of till all that hay into the garden when we till the garden up to add some organic matter to the garden. And we'll leave just enough hay to have hay for the chickens, for their bedding, until we get our first cutting of the year. This is my 25 pounds of Kennebec seed potatoes that I ordered this year, the same that I got last year. And I know this isn't going to be enough for us to have a year's worth of potatoes with our harvest, but we're working towards that with trying to figure out how to save our own seed potato. And I am going to start chitting these today, or pre-sprouting them. Chitting your potatoes is basically kind of like the same concept as starting seeds earlier than you're going to plant them in the ground. It just kind of gives you a little bit of a head start. Some people don't even chit them. I like to. It just makes me feel a little bit better that I know I have these viable potatoes that I'm putting in the ground. Anyway, last year I planted my potatoes around April 12th to 15th. I'm here in zone 6A in West Virginia. And then this year I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to be planting them probably around the 23rd to the 25th of April. Reason for that is I'm not going to be in town. Glenn will be here, but I'm going to be flying down to visit family in Mississippi, like in a little more than a week. And yeah, so as soon as I get back, I'm gonna plant these potatoes, but they'll be fine sprouting, chitting until I get back. You can chit your potatoes 2 to 4 weeks. Some people say 6+ weeks. It all just depends on how big the shoots are, the sprouts are coming off your potatoes. You don't want them to sprout so much though that the potato is just using a whole bunch of its energy making these shoots. You want to get that potato in the ground, you know, otherwise the potato has spent so much of its energy growing these really long shoots that it's kind of burned out by the time you get it in the ground. So anyway, 3 weeks will be fun, and I'm gonna get these started today. This is a less than ideal setup. I just have this box sitting on this table here. Last year I had a space on my seed shelf where my seed shelf was in front of a window that I was just able to lay my potatoes there, but I don't have that same setup this year. So I'm gonna have to see if Glenn has a better way that I can do this, maybe with a big board or something I could lay on the table, because I was able to fit most of them in here, but I don't want to keep stacking them on top of each other where they don't have good airflow and sun exposure. So I did leave a few in this box here that I'll just stick this in a window somewhere. But yeah, I'll ask Glenn. He'll probably have a better setup for me for this. Last week I started my tomatoes. I did 140 plus tomatoes. Of course, most of them are Pace tomatoes, but I also started some more peppers because I'm pepper challenged and, you know. I was gonna start some lettuce and flowers and things this evening, but Glenn just got home and the weather is really nice. So we're gonna go out there and get that garden brush hogged, and then I'll just do my seeds another day this week. But yeah, I'm pretty excited because as soon as we start getting the tractor out, to me, that signals the beginning of all the summer fun.